Mark, 2 tough away games so far, another big away game at the weekend. What do you feel you've learnt from the opening 2 tests you've had?
Just confirmed that we're a good side, because I think we've gone really competitive against 2 teams that should be or expect to be certainly up the top end of the table. I think we've played really well for the large majority of both games. So that's encouraging. We know when we went to Charlton last year, we played really well and didn't get the result that we wanted, but they're a completely different team now, a new manager, a different style in everything. So we've got a couple of days now to try and ready ourselves and prepare for that. But we certainly went into the week knowing how important these 2 away games were and how difficult they would be, and therefore how important the Exeter result was, because as I'd said a few times, when you play against a team that have won so many games, it's difficult. You see Tuesday night, they respond by beating Wycombe at home. It's a heck of a result for us on Saturday, and there was only 3 teams in the 92 that managed to come from behind in the sweltering heat last weekend, and we were one of them. So we know how important a result that was for us, and that set us up well for Tuesday. That didn't land in the end the way we wanted it to, but we've got a chance to go and prepare ourselves now for a team that have started really well. Actually, I think when you look at their opening fixtures, you'd say it's difficult. But they've ridden QPR close in the cup. They've beaten Derby. They had a massive win against Plymouth. They drew at Accrington on the first day of the season, which was a bit of a mad finish to that game. But they've had a good start, so I'm sure the manager will be pleased, and they'll be full of confidence and momentum going into this weekend.
So would you say they've already had quite a significant transformation under Ben Garner, at least starting to look like his side?
Definitely, yeah. From the very beginning of the season, I think you can tell he's got a way of playing that he had well developed at Swindon last season, and they've come in and sort of hit the ground running with that new style at Charlton and playing the way in which they play. I think they've got some really good options in their squad and their team as well, and you see the strength in depth that they've got. And despite it being against 10 men for an hour on Tuesday night when Plymouth had 1 sent off, they were dominant and are passing the ball very well and looking a real attacking threat. So we know that will be a tough game for us, but I think as well we know that we can go into it thinking we can go and compete because of what we've done so far.
Yeah, and specifically with the Oxford game, obviously Oxford a possession-based side as well. Can you take some of the good stuff specifically from that game into this one?
Yeah, probably, and moments of Tuesday as well. I mean, I think the way they do it and how they play and the shapes and the way in which they build is slightly different to Oxford, and they're playing with a really good tempo at the moment and probably have got more of a real threat in the final third that Oxford haven't developed yet. So we certainly know that there's some similarities in style, but also some fairly different parts and individuals within their team. So I think it will give us a really good challenge, and one that we've got, as I say, a couple of days to try and ready the players for, and we can make changes to the team, which is helpful with where we are at the moment, and see if we can go and deliver a performance on par with the others, because I actually think to come out of the last 2 away games that we've had with no points is a little bit unjust, really, because I thought the performances were excellent. And when you look at Tuesday night, for a large part of the game we were very competitive. It took till injury time of the first half for them to have a shot. It was almost the perfect first half. In the opening spell of the second half, we should have a penalty on Harvey Nibbs, which if it's at the other end towards the Portsmouth fans, it definitely gets given. For them, I'm sure you just don't get those ones. But other than that, I thought the performance was very good until the moments when the game turned, and it looks like an ugly finish and a really confident finish from them, which it was because of how the game went, but it certainly wasn't heading that way. If you left that game in the 60th minute, you'd have never guessed it would end like that.
How tricky is it mentally to be in the right mental space or take the right elements from a couple of games where you feel you've done a lot right, but football being football, the result ends up being the most important thing? How do you make sure the players take the good bits out of those games?
Well, I think that's every player's individual responsibility. You cannot, you can try and influence people's mindset and behaviour, but in the end people think how they think. So you try and create an environment that makes them able to come into work today and crack on and get on with it, and realise that it is football. Football is football. You don't always get what you deserve. Sometimes you get what you get results when you don't deserve them. That's just the way it goes. That'll go our way to and fro throughout the whole season. So you just cling on to the confidence of the performance. You try not to be kidded on by results sometimes, because sometimes a result can cover up a poor performance, and sometimes a good performance doesn't get the reward that it deserves. So I think that's just the story of the season that we'll see a number of times. We've all been through that enough now to see it, and now we just have to move on to the next game. I mean, that is done now. we got home at 3 or 4 a.m. in the morning because the diversions on the way home were absolutely disgusting. So I'm sure it'll be a fairly tired training ground today. We'll get done what needs to be done and get players all ready to go tomorrow, and then tomorrow will be a really good prep day for the game Saturday.
With the team news, has George Williams got a chance for the weekend? Has he got to be assessed? Where's he at?
Yeah, he's with the physios today. He's got a chance, but we'll have to see how he is today and tomorrow as to whether he can get on the training ground. So he's with them today. Hopefully he can do a little bit of controlled work today and see where he is for tomorrow. So there is a chance, but it's certainly not definite.
With your other defensive options, are you pleased with how Zeno Rossi's got on so far, coming in from Bournemouth? Obviously a player with huge potential. Is he making good progress? Yeah,
he is, and it's difficult to see because of the number of sessions that we're having or games that we're having, and I think we'll see a bit more of him in the next month with a couple of cup games we've got coming up, and potentially throughout those league games with injuries and knocks that we've got. So there's always an element of patience. I think it's quite often that when we bring new players into a settled group, it takes time for them to get in the team, certainly with me, because it takes them an understanding to get used to how we do things, and we've got a strong team. I'm really confident in the team that we've got, so therefore there's no rush to make changes and put everybody in. So Brandon's been in and out the team a little bit, and Sekou as well has not had huge minutes at the moment, but it's them understanding us and getting used to what we expect when they're on the pitch, and I'm sure over time that we're going to play over 50 games, hopefully well over 50 games this season, so we know that everybody's going to have a major part to play, and it just comes at different times for people, really. Yeah,
and of course he adds something a bit different to the mix just with his sheer physicality and presence. Was that something that you wanted to add to the squad as a whole, something different in that regard?
Not really. He's just big. Obviously, he's a big boy. Centre halves need to have a decent size. Jibril probably bucks the trend a little bit. He gets away with sometimes a lack of height just through athleticism and speed, but in the main, it's pretty much a given characteristic for a centre back. There's no surprise if you're that size, you end up as a kid probably being put in defence. So no surprise he's developed into that. But he's more than that. He's a decent passer, and I think he's got lots to offer from a defensive point of view as well. But he's here for a long period of time. We've got plenty of time to work with him and develop him and turn him into hopefully someone who contributes to a winning team.
And I'm sure you'll have seen with Harvey and Shiloh being linked with Portsmouth. Now, interest links can come in all forms. How much is there, if anything, to that?
Well, that is the very first I have heard of it, so I haven't seen the link, so I haven't got anything to say on it, really.
More generally, we spoke about the potential for interest in your players last week. Is it just something that once you get into the final couple of weeks of a window, that you have your strategy in place, as it were, and you just kick it into gear as and when things happen?
In terms of potential outgoings?
Yeah, for any of your players, and that so many of them could, I suppose, at any moment a club could come in for them. Do you have for each individual one, you have a plan in place, as it were, and you kick it into gear as and when?
Yeah, I mean, I think through the recruitment side of things, and Ben leads massively on this, and obviously we work closely together on all the recruitment and succession planning. We do that internally and externally, so we have a depth chart which says what players have we got in the building that cover certain positions. So you're trying to plan next window, the next 2 windows, and the next 2, 3, 4 years, and the life cycle of players' contracts. So you're always trying to build a team now and make sure that you've got the development of a team as you go forward, which we've done that brilliantly in the last couple of years, and that's an ongoing process. So that is an ongoing process of watching players, profiling players, seeing who fits into the category that might fall into us within the next window, who's available in this window, who's available 2 windows down the line. All those sorts of things are massively ongoing, so that succession planning never stops, really. That is just a major part of the job, so that you never get surprised and you're always ready in case something comes up. As we found in the summer, you can't always get the players that you want. I mean, at the moment, I don't know what will happen in the next 2 weeks of the window, but everyone's after the same players probably, so there won't be loads going on, and obviously the ones with money have the best chance of doing it. But as I've said many times, I think over the last 2 years we've had constant interest in our players. The only thing that says is we've got good ones, but we know that anyway, and we don't plan on any of them going anywhere.
Yeah, and really just a key mindset thing in that movement can happen. It's being quite relaxed about it, I suppose, and accepting that there are clubs in this league that financially can blow you out the water, and you just take that as it comes.
In terms of signing players, we know where we are in the pecking order. In terms of our own players, we haven't got to do anything, so we're really pleased with what we've got. We're quite happy with where we are, and we don't anticipate anything happening in the next 2 week ins or outs.
Cool, that's great for me.
We saw Greg Taylor back on the pitch for his first league game in a long time after such a horrific injury. How difficult is it for players to sort of be out for that long and then come back, and what does the club offer in the way of support for mental health?
Yeah, I mean, you'd have to ask players that, because I've never been one, so I wouldn't know the answer to that question. I know that they find it difficult. Obviously, the players judge themselves so much by being on the pitch, so I think that's really important. You've got twofold to them being out. One, you've got physical rehab and the amount of time it takes, and the monotony of going into the gym and the physio room and doing the same things again and again and again, and having to wait so long to get your reward of playing games. I think that's a real challenge in terms of boredom a little bit and motivation, but there's also that separation or inclusion. You feel like you're not part of the same team because you're not in the dressing room as often, you're not on the grass as often, you're not around that match day environment as often. So I think trying to create that is really important. We'll try to balance their timings so that we've had periods in the time where injured players report at different times, and sometimes that works, but actually sometimes you need them in at the same time as everyone else so they can have breakfast together, so they can be in the dressing rooms together, so that you can spend some time with them. I think sometimes players need extra time off. If they're bored, you give them an extra day. Yeah, you lose a day's rehab, but sometimes they need to get away from this place and each other. And I think what we do really well is we just spend a lot of time speaking with the players, quite informally, quite relaxed, to try and help them. In the end, you know they're not going to be happy until they're back training and playing. So that is what it is you can't get away from the fact that being injured for a long period of time is a really tough time for players. But I think we support them well. I think we are really accessible as staff throughout the club and give the players whatever we can in terms of the best treatment. I think we've got brilliant medical staff that look after the players, and then really good people in the building that are just fairly normal human beings that can have a chat with someone that doesn't relate to how they've played or football. I think that's really important, because then you're not treating people as footballers, you just treat them as players or as people that play football, and there's a big difference there.
Right, just quickly, everybody else all right from Tuesday night?
As far as I know, mate, I'll be honest, we got home at 4 a.m. I didn't get hold of many people yesterday, and everyone's just stumbling in right now, so today is a bit of a see how everybody is day. I'm sure we've got a few knocks from the game, but there was nothing dramatic at full time that we needed to worry about. So other than a few being probably tired and missing a night's sleep, I'm sure they'll be okay, and hopefully we can get everybody on the grass to do something today and crack on for the weekend. But yeah, hopefully we've got players to add to the squad rather than to take out.
Right, that's great, thanks.
Mark, how are you getting on in terms of finding Ben Warman alive?
It's coming along, but I don't know where we are.
Okay. In terms of Charlton as well, are you expecting them to be another one of these possession-based sides?
Absolutely, yeah. I think they made a big enough thing of it when they appointed Ben Garner as the manager, that they were all about the attacking stats and how creative they were and how confident they are and how many shots and attempts on goal they have. So the game by definition will just be that. They will want to dominate the ball, they want to create floods, loads of chances, loads of crosses, they want to hide the ball from us, they want to penetrate really well. And they're, when we went there last year, there was a little bit of maybe uncertainty or lack of confidence when they played at the Valley, but there isn't that with the start that they've had. So I expect that it will be a brilliant atmosphere to go and play, and we'll have to be nice and courageous to play ourselves, and we'll have to defend well, but we don't want to go there and defend for the whole game.
In terms of yourselves as well, why do you set yourselves up fundamentally as more of a counter-attacking team as opposed to possession-based like at Charlton, for example?
Because I think we're really good at it.
Yeah,
I think we're really good at it, and we've got the players to do it. And there is an obsession with football that it's about how long you can have the ball for, but for me it's about how many points we get, and we've done all right in the last 2 years doing it, so we'll carry on like that.
Yeah. Just finally, we've had a couple of players in recent weeks whose contracts have been extended, Jabril, Cadena, Lewis Simper. Is that something that's also going on in the background to tie a few more players down?
Yeah, I think that always goes on, and we've done that in the last couple of years, and you know that some of those will and some of those won't, and timing's got to be right for players, so we're not stressed about that at all. We'll always try and keep the best players here for as long as possible, but we also know where we are, and that isn't always possible, so we'll keep trying. But in the main, the biggest thing that matters is the next game that we play, this season being the most important, and obviously we succession plan beyond that, so we want to try and keep everybody here, but we're not certainly stressed about beyond this season at the minute. Our focus really is as boring as it is, it's Charlton, then it's Southampton, then it's Burton, then it's Arsenal, then it's Lincoln, and so on and so on, because we play all the time. So we don't have too much time to think beyond that, but we certainly want to make sure that we continue building a team, and we know that some people move on at different times for different reasons, whether that's us or them deciding that. And then you have to recruit good ones to replace them. But we've got a good track record of that so far, and we certainly want to continue building good teams.